Ladies and gentlemen, let us all start by welcoming Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Wong Siuhai, the President of Malaysia Semiconductor Industry Association, for his keynote address. Let's welcome Yang Berbahagia Datuk Sri Wong.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank PATA, Malaysian Chapter, as well as Penang Convention Exhibition Bureau for inviting me here to share some of our experiences in E&E industry and how we went through the COVID. And today you're going to hear from me what is the E&E industry all about. Okay? The title, I put it Renaissance of E&E Industry, very appropriate name, revival, revitalize, reinvent, whatever you want to add to that. The agenda, a quick introduction of MSIA, the outlook of the semiconductor industry, contributions, challenges, the way forward, and a quick summary. Okay, first of all, we formed the MSIA, of the Malaysian Semiconductor Industry Association, in January 2021. That is as a result of the COVID pandemic, okay, that happened in 2020, that a lot of companies needed help. And I was with the Malaysian American industry, electronics industry, and I was only helping the American companies. But a lot of other local Malaysian companies and other companies from other countries are seeking help. And so, on the urging of the government, like MPC, EPU, MIDA, they urged us to form E&E Association. And we came up with the name MSIA. The reason for that is because when we started looking for a name, the E&E name was used by other associations. So when I searched around the world, we found there are many associations called Semiconductor Industry Association in the US, in Japan, in Korea, in Taiwan, in Singapore, in Europe. And there's none in Malaysia, so we call ourselves MSIA. It was launched on April 6 by the Deputy Minister of MITI, and our four objectives basically are: one, to enhance the R&D and technology in the country. Two is to work on improving on our ecosystem in semiconductor and electronics industry. And thirdly, be the collective voice of the electronics industry in the country to advocate issues and challenges faced by them. And lastly, working collaboratively with the government to ensure Malaysia is globally competitive. Our members come from 17 countries, 40%, 42% Malaysia, US 27%, Europe 13%, there are 8 countries, and then Asia 18%. You can practically, we have most of the countries who are involved in electronics are our members. And you can see here from the logo, we have large companies like the Fortune 500 companies, as well as our Malaysian companies, are all members of our association. We also have affiliated members, companies who are interested in the electronics industry joining us. So we have quite a wide spread. Malaysia is a key player in the global semiconductor supply chain. As you can see, 7% of the total global semiconductor trade flows through Malaysia. And 13% of the back-end assembly and test capacity are located in Malaysia. As a result, we are actually a significant player in terms of semiconductor around the world. Malaysia is the top 10 countries doing this, supplying the chips to the world. Okay, let's look at the worldwide semiconductor market. You can see that the last year in 2020, it grew by 26%. This year, it is expected to grow 11%. And the cumulative CAGR is 7.1%. So you can see there is continuous growth over the last few years and projected out in the next 5 years. Contributions of the E&E industry in Malaysia, you can see that it is growing all the way from 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay, the export value was at 456 billion in 2021, an increase of about 18% over last year. And you can see that the contribution to GDP, the employment numbers of 575,000, as well as investments they are bringing in. I can't read the numbers from here, but you can see the investment about 140 over billion, and E&E is about, I think, 80 over billion. Okay. Now, other than all this contribution in terms of numbers, we have contribution in terms of non-quantitative numbers in areas like technology acquisition. Most of the companies bring in state-of-the-art technology to the country. We have global supply chain that's established here in the country. Previously, most of this kind of work are done in the US or in their home country. However, today we have the capabilities here that can operate from Malaysia. Not only that, we also have the global business services, design development, as well as regional and global leadership. That we have many Malaysians working in factories overseas, like in China, Vietnam, and elsewhere, leading the factories or organization over there. Recently, you have heard about the announcements. In fact, I just captured here a few. Intel announced $7.1 billion US investment, which is about 30 billion over the next 10 years. So did AT&S announced 2 billion, 1.7 billion investment. Okay, in Kulim, Infineon, 2 billion euro. AT&S, by the way, is 1.7 billion euro. And Infineon is 2 billion euro. Then yesterday, we have a Sensata announcing 510 million investment. We are JF, we are Unisem. Actually, we're going to see many more announcements coming out later this year about further expansion. And you add it all up, it's about, what does it show there? 48 billion and 11,000 jobs, roughly. Now, over the last 3 years, I've been working with the government, especially with EPU, to explain the importance of E&E industry to the country. And we have numerous meetings about what is happening, what should we do moving forward, and so on. And so, in the 12th Malaysia Plan, for the first time, E&E is identified as one of the 8 strategic impact industries in Malaysia. Previously, E&E industry is buried under manufacturing. You don't see E&E. It's either you see manufacturing and then one of the items underneath is E&E. But today it's been pulled out as a very strategic and important industry. In the 12th Malaysia Plan, the target is 120 billion for the GDP and then 495 billion for the export. I think these numbers should not be difficult to achieve. We should achieve that in the next 5 years. What did it say? It says that number one, we need to boost strategies to boost the E&E sector. Consists of 4 key areas: strengthening the E&E industry ecosystem for the higher value chain, providing greater adoption of high technology, uplifting the development of talent and capability, and lastly, enhancing research and development, as well as design and development. So these are the areas that we are trying to enhance, trying to encourage, trying to motivate, trying to inspire the companies to move forward in this direction. This is the way forward, I think, for the country. So I want to go back a little bit to the pandemic days. Initially in the April, I think April, May, June timeframe, we had shutdowns, okay? And we had shutdowns actually for 2 weeks, and then they extended for 2 weeks. So I just computed for the 28 days. You can see the impact, GDP impact, of 20 over billion. You can see the impact of exports. You can see the impact of trade and so on. So there is significant impact when factories are shut down. And we have been trying to work with the government at that point in time. What should we do? How can we balance between livelihood and lives, people's lives? And it is a very, very difficult balance between the two. So on one hand, some people advocate lockdown, shut down our factories. Some people advocate, no, you cannot shut down. You shut down, it's very, very difficult to come back up. So that delicate balance was the main topic of discussion during that time. But we showed the impact. If you don't open, this is the impact, very, very significant to the country. So one of the key things that we advocate to the government is that the E&E industry is essential industry. Malaysia is part of the global supply chain. That's why I showed you the number of 7% and the 13%. Very key. If you don't supply, then all the medical devices, medical products, and all the medical equipments may not be able to be produced, and they needed badly at that time. So we lobbied the government, explained, spent a lot of time with the ministers, with MITI, with letters to the Prime Minister, everywhere. We have written everything. We got help from even SIA of US to explain why E&E is an essential services. It's not just the E&E companies that I listed in our members, but also the supply chain. So we also have to tackle the issue of supply chain. Why a packaging company is important, or why labeling is important, and so on. Okay, because without packaging, without labeling, we can't ship the products anyway. So that was the amount of energy that we spent trying to get that approved. And finally, I think there was this balance that the government decided to allow at first 30% and then 50% of the workforce to work, and slowly, it came up to 100% finally. One of the key things that we did was the sharing of SOPs. During the pandemic, most companies already have SOPs from their home countries like US and Europe and so on. They have already started earlier than us. And we managed to pool all the SOPs from every company and ask them to share. And we picked so-called the best of everything as a best known method. And we published the SOP so that everybody can use it. And if you want to enhance, you can enhance, but at least that's the minimum and the best practices that we can pull from everybody. And that was tremendous support from all the companies to share their information. And that we are really grateful. And then we have the work from home. Working from home is actually an issue. Who works from home? How do you work from home? Are you ready to work from home? So there were a lot of problems that need to be tackled to work from home. And some of them don't have the high-speed internet and don't have a proper place in the home. But all that had to be worked out by the companies to help the employees to be able to work from home. Okay? And not only that, during the first few months of the pandemic, a lot of workers refused to come to work because they say it's high risk, is this, is that, why am I going to work? And the companies actually spend a lot of money giving them incentives for them to come back and educate them that the factory is actually clean. You are not going to get COVID because you come to the factory, because it's actually very, very clean, and they have taken many, many steps to ensure that the SOP are followed. Like, for example, the bus is reduced to half, they have partitions in the cafeteria, they have done everything that is possible to ensure that the factory is a safe place. And then we have problems with the dormitory, where many companies, 2-3 companies may share the same dormitory. And if one company has COVID cases, it spreads to the other 2 companies because they are sharing dormitories. And the company decided to separate that and have their own dormitory instead. So that way, it helps to reduce the spreading. And we also have many audits and visits by MOH, by MITI, by police, by many people auditing the factories to ensure that it is safe. If not, they shut it down. Last but not least, as we all advocated, that we need vaccination. And so, when the government came out with this PCAS program to do both either on-site or off-site, the companies took them up and very quickly, form a team and set up on-site PPVs and even allow smaller companies to join them. So that way, we have a lot of employees vaccinated. And we are actually very grateful to MITI to support this program. And you can see from the photos how some of the programs have taken off, and now the employees and everybody feel a lot more safer. Okay, during that time, as you know, there were since people cannot come to work, there was a big drive on digital transformation. A lot of things went online because you cannot come to work, you cannot go and buy things, so you buy things online. And because of 5G, because of automation and all this transformation, the demand for semiconductor actually increased. At first, we thought that the business are going to go down, but it turned out to be otherwise. And therefore, there is a shortage of semiconductor. And the shortage of semiconductor was also affected by the various factory shutdowns, not just in Malaysia, in other countries, Taiwan, Vietnam, China, and so on. But on top of that, we have other things that cause a disruption. We have shutdowns of wafer fabs in various countries, we have in Japan, we have in Austin, Taiwan, Germany, as well as the Suez Canal blockage, power allocation in China. So all that caused the shortage to be even more severe. And, the supply chain was quite badly disrupted. And you have a lot of shortage. So as a result, last year, 2020 and 2021, the factories were scrambling to work, to help to supply to the demand, to satisfy the demand. Even until today, the supply is not able to satisfy the demand yet. But hopefully, over time, that should be taken care of. At the same time, our Malaysian companies, since they cannot travel, need to connect with their customers, need to win business. How do we do that? So we came out with a program called the E&E Marketplace Malaysia Portal, where we promote our Malaysian companies to the world. You can see on that website. If you are interested, you can go and check on the website. Or if you are interested, if you are in E&E business and interested to promote your company, you can join the website. It is free. There they allow you to showcase your capability with some photos and what have you. And if somebody search for E&E companies in Malaysia and they want to work with you, they just click on your website and it will go directly to your website, and you just deal with them directly. There's no cost involved. And then we also work with Matrade on a program called Semiconductor Connect. Semiconductor Connect basically is a program whereby our Malaysian companies identify customers, potential customers, for example, in the US, and they will tell the Matrade trade commissioners in the US that I would like to meet company A. Can you help set up either a virtual call and get us connected? And that's what this program is all about. They will get them connected, and then they can start talking and see whether a business opportunity can be developed. As you know, during that time, also we had the US-China trade war. A lot of companies were looking for alternative supply, and Malaysia is in a good spot to be chosen as one of the suppliers. Meanwhile, because of the shortage, companies were working extremely hard to improve productivity, either in productivity, manpower or labor productivity, space productivity, equipment productivity. They do all that, okay? At the same time, they also increase their capacity, either through buying of more equipments or expanding the factory, current space in the factory. However, just now, based on the announcement I have made, today, a lot of factories are buying land and expanding, okay? And some are ready now, but some going to be ready later part of the year and some into next year. But as you know, you have heard in the news that many companies are investing around the world, especially in the front-end fab. If I listen to the companies like Intel, who announced fab investment in Arizona, in Ohio, in Germany, Samsung also announced, TSMC also announced, European Union also announced based on their CHIP Act. If we add up all together, over the next, from now to 10 years, there is an investment of about 550 billion US investment. Even if I take half, 275 billion US investment over the next 5 years, or even I take half of it, of 150 billion, is still very significant. There will be a spillover effect. That's why everybody is preparing themselves for that opportunity. And Malaysia should be doing, and our companies are also doing. Oops. Oh. Okay, I got to go back. All right. Okay, so during the time of the pandemic, what did we do as an industry? We started straight away in May timeframe the business recovery webinar. We are telling all the companies to start to rethink, reinvent, and I cannot see the word from here. Okay, revitalize. And then then the next one we talk about making the against the recovery, making the climb against the recovery, and so on. So we have 3 webinars that we did. After we did the 3 webinar, then we have an advisory clinic for companies who needed help, further help, to get further advice. So we set up one-on-one, 1 hour for them to seek advice from the people with experience with the industry. Then we held the National E&E Forum. We held 3 in the last 3 years, and the last one, last year we had this fueling the semiconductor renaissance. We had the CEO of Cadence from the US, he's a Malaysian, but very successful man, to speak at our conference, and we have the well-known companies like BCG, Credit Suisse, SIA, and so on, all speaking. And we also conducted currently artificial intelligence IoT. And so, these webinars and meetings classes that we are holding to help the SMEs to go on the Industry 4.0 journey. In fact, we have many programs to help them. So in total, we have more than 5,000 participants from 26 countries. In fact, all our webinars, since it's on virtual, we have many attendees from all over the world listening to what we are doing. So, what is the E&E industry doing going forward? First, in our industry, we are strong in certain areas. For example, we are strong in automation. We have many, many good automation companies serving the electronics industry. And not only that, they are also going global. How they go global? If they win a business in Malaysia, but that company may have 3 other locations all around the world. They also buy the equipment. So as a result, they go to other countries. So what we are saying is, where we have done well, like attracting FDIs, you heard this announcement, and Penang was the top of all the FDIs. We say continue to do FDIs and grow our domestic investment. And continue with our strategy to attract smart, high-tech, high-value manufacturing and attract state-of-the-art technology, especially in semicon and EMS. Continue to do that because we are doing well. There's no reason to stop. Just double down our effort and make it even better. Secondly, since I spoke about the automation industry, serving the electronics industry, we should ensure that more and more companies become global companies and make our Malaysian companies known around the world. And one of the ways that we do is buy local. We encourage all the MNC, all the large local companies to buy local. The more you buy, then the companies that we have in Malaysia can flourish. Not only that, it created what I call waterfall effect. That means that businesses that they have from the large companies, they outsource to the tier 1 companies or tier 2 companies. And they just go on because they can't do everything themselves. So they outsource. So everybody have a chance to grow. And we need to grow more global champions. Not only global champions, we're also working with many of our local companies to get them prepared for IPO, become public listed companies. So next week, on the 29th, I think, or 30th, we have IPO program where companies can attend and listen to how to get themselves ready for IPO. So that in the next, if they are ready over the next 2 to 3 years, they need to do certain things to get themselves ready. And so we are going to have a seminar in collaboration with KPMG on this. So those of you are interested can also contact us. Then we want to encourage design development because as you look at the RMK12, we want to go up the value chain. Malaysia is actually very strong in manufacturing. Keep doing, it's okay. But we want to go up the value chain. So we are encouraging more and more companies to get into design development. So one of them, for example, Skychip, which is just over 1 year old, based in Penang, is the first company in Malaysia, probably even in Southeast Asia, to do an IC product design. They are designing high bandwidth memory, 3, the latest product, where other companies are also doing. Companies like Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and also on Xilinx are all doing. So we are part of that race, trying to come out with that chip. And this company has already in that 1 year produced more than 10 IPs where they have registered in Malaysia, China, and the US. Then we also have Swift Bridge, where they make high precision test cable, especially for 5G technology. And they have now one of the fastest high precision cable in the world. Again, many companies do not know. We also have many more companies like that in Malaysia, and we need to help them, to promote them, and to grow and become global. We are also working with NCER on Technology Innovation Center. The idea of the Technology Innovation Center is like what E3 in Taiwan were doing in the early stages. Their intent is to help our Malaysian companies to go into design and development. As you know, to go into design and development in E&E industry is very costly. The barrier to entry is very high. So how can we lower that entry, the barrier, so that they can come in without feeling that the risk is so high that I just cannot do it myself. So what we are doing is, in the first step, we are going to establish Center of Excellence, whereby companies who wants to do design, for example, IC design or even mechanical design, they can use the tools. They don't have to buy the tools, because the Center of Excellence that we established, we will get companies to provide the tools, and they just pay per use. They don't have to buy the tools. So the tools, for example, in EDA tools, may cost you millions of dollars. Even before you start the product, you want to spend so many millions. It's very difficult. So we want to lower the cost for them, so that they can not only design, they can also test the product using what we call Center of Excellence. So this is center that we're going to establish, hopefully second half of the year and going to next year, will be able to help entrepreneurs, small Malaysian companies who wants to design a product, to prototype a product, to commercialize a product, to acquire technology, to get funding. We will help them in the whole process of getting their product out to market. And last but not least, since we are strong in manufacturing in the back end, we need to be also strong in the front end. And we are hoping that we can attract more wafer fab FDIs into the country to at least enhance our supply chain. So, with the US-China trade war, and with all the sanctions and restrictions, a solution needs to be found, and I hope Malaysia can provide that solution. In the midst of all this, we still have time for CSR work under the MSIA CARES program during the pandemic. As you can see, the first project that we did was two projects that was running in parallel. One was to raise funds to support the Penang GH ICUs. At that time, they were running out of space, they were running out of equipment, and they wanted more modern equipment to help them to speed up the process of blood testing and so on. So we managed to raise 1.6 million and get all the equipment out to them in a very short time. Secondly, since a lot of students were studying from home, the needy students were not equipped to study from home. A lot of them, you hear stories of using their parents' mobile phone, and 2-3 children sharing the mobile phone to attend classes. And not only that, sometimes they don't have the data plan, they don't have many things. So we decided to raise 1,552 laptops for the school. The school then will give it to the needy students who need this, so they can study from home. And when they leave, so you'll be given to Form 3, Form 4, Form 5 students, and if the Form 5 student leave, then that laptop will be given to the next, maybe the new Form 3 students. So that way, the laptop stays with the school. That was a program we came up with, and we raised just over 2 million for that. And then with the recent floods, we also raised 700 units of stoves and regulators, as well as oximeters. That many people, when they are quarantined, they don't monitor themselves, and by the time when their reading is too low, they rush to hospital, and some of them are a bit late, and they cannot survive. So we provide oximeters to the various part of the constituencies of the Aduns and give it to the people that who needed them. So these are the few that we did. Oops, one more. Okay, so in summary, E&E industry, or the semiconductor industry, is on a growth path, CAGR of 7.1%. We have a record approved investment of 148 billion. Penang was top among all that. Companies in Malaysia continue to be on expansion mode, okay? And we are encouraging buying local to create a waterfall effect. And companies like Inari, for example, have spent 5 billion ringgit over the last 5 years buying local equipment. So we need companies like that to continue to buy local equipment. And we are encouraging more companies to go up the value chain, especially in design and development. Our challenges ahead, as you can see in the media and the press, that we are still facing challenges in hiring people. We are still facing challenges to implement Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is basically implemented by more of the bigger companies. The smaller companies still struggle with it, and we have various programs to help them, like Plug Fest program, whereby we invite the Malaysian companies to experience training for 3 to 6 days and do a industry project, the company project, to show that it can be done and it's not that expensive. So we are still having that challenge. And last but not least, we are of course encouraging more companies to drive ESG program and implementation. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you very much.